Hello everybody, Miles here, and welcome back to another video. Now, today I'm going to do a sort of summary overview of the new 1.17 Minecraft announcement. Now, just as a heads up, if you want to actually watch the announcement yourself and don't want it to be spoiled, I recommend watching the actual announcement rather than watching this video, because this will obviously spoil it for you. Now, without further ado, let's get into the first thing, which I'm sure is the thing that's on everyone's mind, being the new 1.17 mob vote. Now, we got choices of 3 different mobs. The first one being the Moo Bloom, which is sort of flower cow, similar to the mushroom. The second one is the Iceologer, which is a sort of ice illager that would spawn in ice biomes. And the third one being the glow squid, which is a sort of bioluminescent squid that would mesmerize you. Now, in total, the one that actually won the vote is the glow squid, which will be added, I'm assuming, will be added into Minecraft in the 1.17 update. Now, let's actually get into the actual announcement for what 1.17 is, which is the Caves and Cliffs update. Now, with the Caves and Cliffs update, which I'm assuming the memes have probably told you already, it's been a long-wanted update for a long time. And of course, the cave update has to come with newly generated caves. Now, these new generated caves come with not only the old sort of tube-esque variant of the caves, but also come with a larger, more ravine-esque. Not ravine-esque. They have larger, both ravine and larger, just general area of caves with things like pillars, underground rivers, underground lakes, and even underground waterfalls that look very, very cool to actually have in the game, and finally have some really cool looking cave generation. Now, along with these new caves, we actually get something that's kind of not really seen before, especially for caves, being cave biomes. Starting off with the first and easiest, to be honest, easiest cave biome to explain being the new dripstone caves. Now, the dripstone caves are these stalactite, stalagmite biome caves. And these caves will have stalactites and stalagmites. Now these stalagmites and stalactites will also drip water from them, fall from the ceiling, and even deal damage to mobs that fall onto them. As well as that, the dripping can actually fill cauldrons, which is a pretty neat feature. But I don't know why, but it's in there. The next biome is actually a really interesting one they added, being the deep dark biome. Now, we don't actually have, like a lot of this update, we don't have tons of information on what the deep dark biome is actually supposed to be, but so far we have a few things. The first one I'm going to talk about is the new skulk blocks. Now, the new skulk blocks are these sort of wireless kind of entity things where they respond to vibrations and sounds that'll attack, or not attack, they'll just go towards them and kind of branch out from them. And from what we see in that, we can see a few new blocks being a sort of like weird skulk kind of full dark block, a kind of skulk block where it has some sort of form of white and black accents on there, and then finally the skulk block with the actual antennas that responds to the actual noises. And again, these skulk blocks can actually respond to redstone, which actually means for this update we'll have wireless redstone within it, which is pretty crazy, not gonna lie. The next thing is the actual biome itself. Now, the biome itself, it looks like from the trailer, has a new type of stone block, as well as things like what appears to be a candle, as well as underground structures, and it also comes with a new mob. And this new mob is the Warden, and this mob is pretty scary, to say the least, for most of the other Minecraft mobs. It's this big mob that actually is blind, and similar to the skulk blocks, responds to vibrations and sounds. And so far within the trailer, it has a cool heartbeat mechanic, and it also does a ton of damage, doing more than half of your health bar in a single hit with what they say is full netherite armor, which is kind of broken, but that's a pretty neat thing. Alright, and the final cave biome is the Lush Caves. Now the Lush Caves, the way you find one, are the azalea trees that spawn on the surface that appear to have some sort of form of flower or berry on the leaves. And if you dig straight down, you will find one of these Lush Caves. And these Lush Caves are full of a bunch of moss and they're full of moss and vines and a ton of cool plants, including things like the actual azalea, like little azalea tree bushes. These cool vines called glowberries, which I'm not sure what they do yet. A sort of flower that's on the ceiling and the floor called a spore blossom, and you have these drip leaf plants that could probably be used well in parkour scenarios, as you cannot stand on them forever and they break after a little while. And the cool new, what I'm assuming is a pet, the axolotl. Now the axolotls can be similar to fish, picked up in a bucket and carried around with you. As well as that, they also look like they would function kind of like wolves of the sea, as in the trailer they go into a Elder Guardian. They go and fight an Elder Guardian, and the axolotls start attacking it. And for what it looks like, and for what they say, the axolotls will play dead when being hit, which makes the other mobs not try to attack it, meaning that it would last longer than other pet type mobs like the wolf, which just kind of gets hurt a lot. And after that, let's actually move on to some new things that are quite interesting within this, which are two new resources. The first one being amethyst crystals and geodes. Now these geodes are sort of like small spherical structures that'll spawn in your world and spawn the aforementioned amethyst crystals. These crystals will be used. These crystals are not exactly sure for all of their uses. We know one though. But these crystals will spawn in there, and from what I gather, you cannot pick them up with Silk Touch, making it so that you have to go to a geode and keep it there in order to properly get it. And as well as that, the other resource that we have is actually something that's kind of crazy, to be honest, being copper. Now, from what it looks like in the trailer, copper is going to be a new resource, but unlike things like iron, I suspect that it's probably going to be a resource more similar to nether quartz, and how nether quartz is a more building block resource rather than a tool resource, and I suspect that copper will be a similar thing. And also, the copper blocks within it actually show aging, just like how the Statue of Liberty is actually made of copper, though it looks green. Eventually, the copper blocks will turn green in your Minecraft worlds. And both of these things are actually used for some cool things. The first one being the lightning rod. Now, lightning rods is actually a pretty cool feature, because I'm pretty sure that if your house gets struck by lightning and it burns down, you wouldn't like that. And these lightning rods are built to prohibit that. As Jeb said, within the actual live stream, he says that he likes to make it so that whatever happens within the world feels like you have to part with it. But the lightning can burn down your house is all just the world itself. So he's making this lightning rod to try and make it so that your house doesn't have to burn down if you get struck by lightning, because it strikes a lightning rod instead. And the next feature, which actually I think this is actually a pretty cool feature, especially adding just vanilla Minecraft, being the telescope. Now the telescope allows you to, well, obviously zoom in, but the cool thing about this is that this is kind of like the vanilla version of the Optifine zoom that people quite commonly use. And I just think it's a pretty cool feature. Alright, now moving on, we actually go to a new thing that I actually didn't expect at all, being an archaeology part of it. Now, you will presumably be able to find these structures in the world full of sand, gravel, or dirt, And you'll be able to use a new tool called a brush to be able to brush away the actual dirt and find things inside, including things like blocks of diamonds, blocks of emeralds, as well as a new thing being clay pot shards that are showing different pictures from a time from the past. So in the video, they actually take some of these clay pot shards and actually put them on clay pots, which they put them on the clay pots and then they cook them under it, being able to make their own custom clay pots out of these shards, which I actually think is a pretty unique thing that they have. Alright, and the next thing that I think, the next item that they added is actually, in my opinion, a really, really cool item, being the bundle. Now, obviously, in Minecraft, organizing your inventory is not a simple task. And while yes, you can extend your inventory with things like an ender chest or shulker boxes, there is one major problem with all of those, being that you can't stack two different types of items. If you were saying collecting flowers and want to collect a bunch of different flowers on your adventure, and you have like 2 pink tulips and 2 orange tulips, you can't combine the stacks. They have to be completely separate inventory slots. But the bundle, on the other hand, doesn't do that. The bundle makes it so that you can put 64 of any item, which excludes any of the stack stuff. So you can just put a stack of any item in the game in there. And it can all be different items, but it'll all stay in one stack, which I think will be a really cool feature. And then finally, we go to the final part of the update. We went to caves, and now we're going to cliffs. Now, the cliffs has to do with the 2017 biome vote, which resulted in mountains being the final outcome. And with the actual mountains video, we have confirmation of things like the quote-unquote snowier snow, which I think is a pretty funny way to put it, which I'm assuming will function similarly to soul sand, as well as they also mentioned a snow that breaks when you step on it, which would be a pretty interesting thing for making things, for example, such as traps, which would be pretty cool. And after all of that, we actually have another new mob, being the goat. Now, this goat, from what it seems in the video, is a mountain goat. It spawns in mountains because it is part of the mountain biome. But it seems like it has a very high jump to climb up surfaces, as well as having a high knockback attack. Now, I'm not exactly sure if they'll be neutral, and if you attack them, it'll attack you, or if it's like a piglin, where if you do a certain task, then they'll actually attack you. But it's pretty interesting nonetheless. Now, in terms of the conclusion, there is a lot of things added in this update. There are a few more things added in the update, for example, like new creative features for Bedrock. But these are some of the main things that they mentioned within the 1.17 Caves and Cliffs update. Now, if you like this video, then you can comment, like, subscribe, and do whatever you want. And well, that's the summary, pretty short one. And well, see you later.